Similarly as with hounds, the taming of felines depended on common advantage. In the most punctual long stretches of horticulture, man had to manage an unexpected outcome. Rodents eating up his harvest and ruining his grain. Following ravenously in their strides were predators like snakes and owls, and felines. The felines with the most amicable auras were in the long run invited into human settlements, exceptionally esteemed for their capacity to pulverize vermin. The house feline was trained from the African wildcat roughly 10,000 years back in the Middle East and has once in a while wandered from our side since. Loved in certain societies as divine beings and scolded in others as signs of the fiend himself. Felines were first tamed for their craving for mice and rodents. Today, the normal pet proprietor is substance to have kitty do minimal more than snooze, yet the feline despite everything has a furious chasing nature. The individuals who permit their felines to wander outside will frequently validate getting blessings on the doormat, the cadavers of flying creatures and rodents their pet has pursued down. Indeed, even today, felines are utilized to kill off rodents and mice at such places as Disneyland and the State Hermitage Museum in Moscow. Russia, although history has likely graced us with significantly increasingly unquenchable trackers, the Guinness Book of World Records perceives Toza, the Glen Turret feline, as the world mousing champion. A female long-haired tortoise-shell, Toza, who lived almost to her 24th birthday celebration, was positioned in a refinery in Crieff, Scotland, the home of famous grouse whiskey. During her rule, she murdered somewhere in the range of 28,899 mice per Guinness record. Toza's successor at Glen Turret was a feline named Amber, who, in spite of an about 20-year vocation of her own, was not known to have gotten a solitary mouse. Any individual who has ever possessed a female feline that wasn't fixed can likely validate the total wretchedness of her warmth cycles. She will yowl and continually endeavor to get away from the house to get together with suitors. Male felines who can detect her enthusiasm will assemble around, hanging tight for their chance. The genuine mating process is a shocking trait, as far expelled from sentiment as possible. The female looses terrifying shouts during the experience, and all things considered, a male feline's penis is less an instrument of delight than an object of medieval torment. It sports in reverse, confronting spikes like fish snares made of keratin that rake within the female's vaginal trench. This horrifying piece of the romance is thought to welcome on ovulation. It is presumably unavoidable that sooner or later in your life, you will run over a creature while driving. For most, it is a sickening inclination, and we will head over to do anything we can to help, particularly if the creature is clearly a pet. Lamentably, there are a stunning number of individuals who will proceed on the path considerably in the wake of hitting individuals, not to mention a pet. In the UK, it is illicit not to report an auto crash including a canine, or even a livestock, yet for some odd reason, there is no legitimate commitment to stop on the off chance that one strikes a feline. Despite the fact that your normal feline will drink up a saucer of milk like it's sweet ambrosia, the truth of the matter is they are lactose narrow-minded. Like a few people, as they develop. The Godfather is perceived as probably the best film ever, positioned at number 2 behind Citizen Kane by the American Film Institute. The champ of 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay, each part of the film has been thoroughly considered, particularly the marble-mouthed patriarch Vito Corleone. At the point when we are acquainted with the heartless crow chief, he is decked out in a tuxedo, commending his little girl's wedding, absently stroking his feline. It is a groundbreaking minute. The division of the Don's savage force and his delicacy toward his pet. It was, be that as it may, altogether coincidental. The feline didn't highlight in the screenplay by any stretch of the imagination, it was a wanderer that had meandered onto the set. Marlon Brando got it to play with it. And the rest is true to life history. Gregory IX was pope from 1227 until his passing in 1241, his rule described by inciting campaigns and ruthless examinations against those regarded unorthodox. He likewise appeared to be persuaded that the individuals were loving dark felines as signs of the fiend. His impact prompted huge-scope slaughters of felines all through Europe. A crusade which would proceed to have unpleasant, unanticipated results 100 years after the fact. In the late 1340s, when rodents tainted with the Black Plague cleared out of Asia, they saw Europe as an authentic, perfect world, unprotected by the felines that would have diminished their positions, and likely spared a huge number of lives. Fortunately, late popes have been increasingly tolerant of felines. Pope Benedict was known to have a specific partiality for cats, who might pursue him around the Vatican grounds. Like the editing of ears and the docking of tails in hounds, declawing felines is a hot-button issue in the pet network. While numerous proprietors who have returned home to locate a destroyed lounge chair may accept that declawing is a sensible answer for their concern, the medical procedure required to expel the paws is very fierce. Since the nail becomes out of the bone, the veterinarian is required to remove the finish of the feline's toe. Something similar to cutting your fingers off at the main knuckle. Declawing is a generally regular procedure in the US, with just a couple of restricted regions banning it, for example, the city of San Francisco. However, it is viewed as creature pitilessness and is illicit in a few nations all through the world, including a large portion of Europe, Israel, Brazil, and Japan. The expression, "felines have 9 lives," has become such a typical piece of the vernacular that couple of delay to think about its suggestions. The feline, with its speed and uncanny spryness, would appear to challenge, passing every step of the way. The creature's most noteworthy achievement would appear to be its capacity to consistently endure tumbles from any stature. People, for need of examination, are horrible at falling. In spite of the fact that there are instances of individuals enduring crazy tumbles, in 1972, attendant Vesna Vulovic lived in the wake of falling more than 9,000 meters to 30,000 feet from a harmed plane. A human is for the most part in a tough situation. After around 3 stories, a falling feline has a few components for endurance. Maybe in particular, its feeling of parity goes about as a kind of interior gyrator called elevated correcting reflex. After dropping a couple of feet, it is everything except ensured to arrive down on the ground. The feline's free, solid legs go about as springs after landing, appropriating the unexpected effect. Being generally lightweight, the feline has a much lower max speed, the most extreme speed at which it can fall, than a human. Felines reach around 60 miles per hour. People effectively twofold that. This is more than minor guess. There are many reports of felines tumbling from gigantic statures and leaving with minimal more than wounds. In 2011, an older feline named Gloucester fell 20 stories from an Upper West Side Manhattan loft with minor wounds. The next year, a feline in Boston, named Sugar, tumbled 19 stories. In 2009, another Manhattan feline fell a surprising 26 stories. This time with photograph proof taken by close-by window washers. This blessed cat's name, Fortunate,